on Facebook. Hello, Facebook friends, and welcome everybody in our Zoom room. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and we've got a really cool show for you tonight. We're going to have about 8 different guests, and we're going to be showing footage of people who had recent sightings, UFO experiences, ET, interdimensional, all that kind of stuff. But to kind of set us up, I want to establish that I'm very inclusive by nature. And so I want to include everyone. It's wonderful, those people that have been blessed to have a sighting or to have an experience. And some of us have maybe not necessarily had an extraterrestrial connection, but maybe we had a very powerful lucid dream with someone that we love who died. Or maybe some of us have had astral projection, or some of us have experienced channeling and other beings coming through us. And all of these experiences are life transforming, very magical. And as one of my mentors taught me, we don't need to make a religion out of it. Just appreciate the experience that we had and be open to the experiences that others have had, hopefully as we open our consciousness to more and more possibilities. And I think that many of our speakers might address that when we are willing to open ourselves to greater opportunities in our consciousness, we grow, we expand. I love the quote by Einstein that the true measure of intelligence is how quickly we can change or adapt our beliefs. So we're not here to promote any specific thing other than opening ourselves, opening our hearts, opening our minds, listening to each other, including listening to people that are skeptical. That's welcome as well. So I thought it would be kind of fun to start by showing a video. And this is from a gentleman who's going to actually be on our show tomorrow night, James Gillian. Really interesting fellow. He lives up in Oregon where there's just all these sightings that happen, a lot of sightings. And his ranch has become pretty famous. Anyway, we're going to have him on our show tomorrow night. It's kind of a fun video for us to get started. And hopefully all of you will be able to see it pretty well. Really grateful to the 70 people that are in our Zoom room, and definitely look forward to getting some of your comments. Please put any thoughts, questions into the chat box, and maybe start by telling us where you're from. Like we already heard from Carol from Portland, and Lawrence from North Carolina, and Chantal from Alberta. So yeah, definitely let us know where you're from. Tomo from London. So really appreciating that. And here we go. Let's take a look here.
And I can get all of them. They're like all 4. There's 5. Another one crossed them. It's huge. Oh, he is. He's powering up. Whoa, look at that. Look at that. Whoa.
That's not a plane.
Oh, no, look at straight down on this guy as far as I can go.
That jet's moving in.
Whoa, look at that.
Huge.
Look at that. Oh, doubled. There it goes. It's doubling. I got him. Check him out, man. He's going. There's the power up. Whoa. I got them both.
Oh, that power up. Yeah. Whoa, that's massive, man.
You getting it done? Yeah, I got him. I got that all the way.
Just spilled my coffee.
You know, I think just as exciting as it is to see the video, what's really cool is just people's reactions, listening to people go, wow, you know, and it is, it's a big wow when we have the opportunity to come on and see something. So again, welcome. If any of you are panelists, because we've got about 80 people, 85 people, let me know if you're a panelist so I can find you and promote you to our panel, just like I did for my partner in this show, Trish Wright. Because this is a special episode of a show we do every Friday night called Straight Talk with Scott and Trish. And Trish, I'm going to turn it over to you for a moment just to kind of share kind of your experiences, and then we're going to hear from Celestine. Because I need to get the link to a couple of our panelists that are having trouble getting on. So the spotlight's on you, Trish.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Oh, man, I'm so excited to be here with our amazing panelists. It's always lovely to see you, Celestine. Always lovely to see you. And I'm really excited to meet Mark and the whole panel. I've been having really amazing experiences just looking at the stars and just feeling really into my body and feeling into this magical time that we're in, not just the COVID time or the time here as the planets align, and it's just so powerful, and it seems like there's just so much connection happening on this plane, the other plane, between people, and I feel like there's so much tangible community outside of just the human connection. I'm really excited.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to have you with us, Trish. All right, so I'm going to turn the spotlight over to Celestine Starr. She is probably, of all the people that you're going to meet tonight, been in this world of extraterrestrial connection the longest. I think it's about 40 years that Celestine has been an active experiencer. And so, Celestine, I'd love to have you share a little bit about your background. And of course, tonight's theme, which is how people can open to have their own experiences.
Thank you, Scott, and welcome to everyone. I'm so excited because this is our time to be able to speak freely. This is, I've been slowly coming out for the last 3 years and speaking about my experiences. And it started with just being raised metaphysical. I have Native American and Egyptian. So those parts of my ancestor, Croatan and Nubian, they all come from the stars. So it just was in my nature to understand that. It wasn't anything big. And later, as I, first experienced a near death in which 2 blue beings, after I went through the light, were there to greet me. It was very natural and very loving and beautiful. And I had the reading of the life and then entered the Godhead. That awakened every particle within my being and narrowed my path. So I'm always on the path of the oneness and the unified field. I experienced New Mexico, where we're doing atomic bomb blasting, the sky is ripped in two, and starships have started appearing, the ones that they call the flying saucers. And eventually our whole family was taken in together, and we were examined by tall grays, and that began the sky watching. Our family was very avid sky watchers. Later, I ended up marrying a man who was in charge of, he was the security for Edwards Air Force Base for Space Shuttle. And there's a lot of action going on there. There's a lot of space action and different things happening there that takes you off planet. Eventually up to the high countries, Scott, where you live, and meeting there the Great High Council, the High Spiritual Council in the Galactic Federation, and they've been with me since. I've been doing sky watches and providing the pathway to the gate. You're at the gateless gate, everyone's standing there, and it's for you to go through on your own, in your own heart, in your own way. And I've seen the cities of light, and I'm so excited. And I have been leading these star group meetings. We formed the Galactic Earth Council in 2010, when the oil in the ocean, the BP spill. And they said, bring as many humans as you can. You see, we can ask them for help. And in this state of COVID, we can go out and say, please assist us in cleaning up this catastrophe that has happened. So I gathered about 30 people. We went up to the mountains here, and we're in California, and they came out for us. Not only did they come out, but they gave us the blessing of light sequencing. And that's what they often do once they meet you. They give us the mantra, glory in the light of the radiant one, because they're connected to the creator. And they tell me that each of you who have the connection to the higher star beings, they are guided by the Creator, the Radiant One, in order to connect with us all. There's a divine plan they call the Simprith, a divine plan of reintegrating humanity with the greater galactic community. So we, those of us who went out July the 14th or connected or is opening to, whether it's internal or external, you're part of the divine plan. We are the turning of the wheel in which we are going to eventually have the full revelation of the galactics in our daily lives. Right now, we're modulating higher in our Schumann resonant field, which enables us to see them, to be closer to them, and to be a part of their lives. They're so excited because they see us as galactic consciousness in a human body. They're like, how do you have those little eyes and how can you see? And so they're very humorous, they're very loving, and they're very amazed that we have taken on this human incarnation. We are the signature tone for the whole of the Milky Way. They see us as the children of the Milky Way. And so with that, I just want to encourage all of you to just stay in your heart, know you are loved, and feel the guidance. I'm so excited. So thank you, Scott. I want to talk about our July 14th, and I don't know if you want me to talk about it now.
In a moment. You know what I'd like
Yes.
is if you can send me that photograph on Messenger, because it's easier for me to pull up
Oh,
on
I
Messenger.
see.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm going to introduce us to another one of our guests. A reminder for our panelists to keep themselves muted. I want to welcome Zarina. I'm going to put the spotlight on you for a moment, Zarina. She's somebody new that I've just met in the last couple of weeks. And I initially met her because she and her partner have a band called Olax, and they are incredible. We had them on the show last week, and we're going to have them on our Saturday Night Live show tomorrow night. But as I got to know her, she has an extraordinary background coming from Siberia. And I really enjoyed hearing a little bit about how interdimensional travel and shamanism is just a natural part of your culture. And that's very valuable for us in the West, because in the West, it's not something that we're raised with. There's all the stories of little children that see spirits and ghosts. And then when they have enough, too many parents that say, oh, well, that's not real. You don't really have an imaginary play friend. They stop seeing. But I'm intrigued by someone like yourself who grew up in a culture that supports other worlds and being able to see other worlds. So can you tell us a little bit about that, Serena?
Good evening, everyone. Uruyaykhal. That's a greeting in my Saka native language. Thank you for inviting again, Scott and Deborah, and today giving me an opportunity to introduce one of the remote cultures in the world. The place where I was born, the small village with 900 people only, got an internet, for example, 3 years ago, and we've been connecting through the different tool between between each other, like without internet, without cell phone. It's more like telepathically, probably, or intuition, reading the signs. And but globalization came to my homeland also, of course. And just if you see the map, my whole homeland, Republic of Sakha-Yakutia, is situated on northern eastern part of Russia, and it's the biggest area there. So the weather conditions are extremely harsh. During the summertime, it's hot, like plus 94. And during the winter time, it's minus 94. So, and just imagine living in that conditions and dealing with spirits, dealing with the weather, with the nature. For my people was the whole life, the whole learning from the life. And so our philosophy, our beliefs were formulated by, this vision of being very close to the mother nature and to the spirits of the whole elements. And specifically shamans, the people who are actually the healers of the people in nature. They were doorway to the whole dimensions. And as all shamanic cultures see the world, the universe, as 3 levels, the higher, middle, and the lower worlds, the shaman has an access to go, depending what kind of shaman, to go to that world. And if it's a white shaman and doing mostly the prayers and praying, to the higher world, so the white shaman would connect to the 12 deities of the sky. It's in another word, I would say it's a universe's energies, and each sky has each own deity, and each deity is responsible for human problems. If there is a lot of death because of the harsh conditions, my people would do special ceremonies for Ayehit deity of fertility, and that makes the balance between death and birth. And so each, as I said, each deity has a own responsibility for that. And that's why we used to send our prayers and connect to the deities through the shaman. And there are another kind of shamans. They are mostly working with disease, and they would say, all the black spirits are invisible for our eyes, but they exist in the middle world, in the physical reality. So middle world, it's everything we can feel and smell and see. So that how we see the middle world. And that's very interesting because one of the shaman told me, Zarina, black spirits are actually, they are bacteria, like bad bacteria and viruses and infections. And they would call them as a bad spirits, and they can attack us. So, and they tell in the ceremonies that, like this person is he's sick because he has a bad spirit on him, and he probably would have some infection. So and shaman usually fights with that, and dependent from the what kind of disease shaman dealing with, the shamans also they are different. We have the different kind of shamans, and in the ceremony of healing, they have psychedelic trips. They have without psychedelics, they can go to another dimensions and see where that soul is stolen and whom it's stolen by, because they often see the person who is sick as the soul is stolen and somewhere hidden. And they can describe how they go to the lower world and rescue that soul. And my culture has a lot of stories and legends and folklore. All the folklore is based on shamanic stories. And I can talk about that for a long time. But in the future, I can give you some examples of incredible stories.
It's a delight to have you with us, really a delight. And I do have a question for you. First of all, people are getting a lot of comments from people going, oh my God, she's so beautiful. She's so amazing. She's so pure. I'm curious, how is it for you going from a culture where there is that active belief in spirits to being in Los Angeles, where it's very crowded, very condensed? How does that impact you personally in terms of your own ability to connect to the spirit world? What do you have to do? How have you had to adjust to that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I see wherever I come, I feel the spirit of the area, of the land, and a specific area where I supposed to be. And as my ancestor did, so I'm bringing my ceremonies there, and the ceremony is the whole permission to asking a permission, being there, and function there, and receive something or give something. So like basically creating the circulation of energy. For creation of this circulation of energy, you need to have this permission, and there are certain ceremonies. And so when I came first time to Los Angeles, I I felt that it's a very how to say, it's a lot of contracted energy there, and so many talented, beautiful people come there. So it's like a center of the vortex, let's say. And being there, it's sometimes overwhelming, but if you understand, if you see the whole, the whole cities and the people's energy as a one organism, then you start to understand, as a, as a all organism and living beings in this planet Earth, that um, our organism will have a time to wake up, and time to eat, time to cleanse itself, and time to go to sleep. So everything that's happening, and you can see the whole city as a child, as a baby, and then you are not reacting or overreacting. It's just another beautiful being there, and it has own character, it has own energy, it has own mood, and you have to deal with that. And what happened to me, when I came first time to LA, and Andres and I were moved from Russia 2 years ago in February 2018, and we had first ever, what do you call that, ceremony for this. It was a private ceremony in Beverly Hills, and we were invited to perform there. And I had my shamanic drum, which one I received from shaman in my homeland through the permission, because you're not allowed to play shamanic drum without permission of the spirits. So I had my drum from the reindeer skin and my costume, and right before we went to Beverly Hills to do that ceremony, it was stolen. So, and that was for me the great loss, because I had that drum for 10 years with me, and it was for me as a best friend. And I was crying for 1 week. I couldn't understand why did it happen. And then I had a dream that it was actually giving. So I, in my culture, we usually, before the ceremony, we give something to the spirit. Each ceremony starts from the spirit of the fire, and we give the white hair, like hair of the white horse. Or if you go to nature, you give some food before you eat, before you touch it. You need to give it to the spirit of the nature. So, and I've done that ceremony when I came to LA first time, but probably it wasn't enough. Sometimes, you know, that the area which has a big power, and the spirit is like so strong, so sometimes they can take more than you give. And I thought that was my gift, actually, to this you know, spirit of America. And I thought I will receive something in return in future, something beautiful. So it's great loss, but it's also my gift.
That's such a beautiful way to reframe that painful experience. I just really want to acknowledge that. That's a really beautiful way to reframe it. And so just for people joining us, we've got about 150 people in our Zoom room and many on Facebook. We're talking to Serena, and we're going to be hearing from Danny Sheehan, Mark Sims, Maya, Trish, all talking about our experiences of a mystical nature. So I have one more question for you, Serena, and then if you don't mind, we're going to go to Danny and Mark for a moment. But where does imagination come into play? As any of us, whether we're raised like you in the northern part of Siberia or we're in California, how do you believe that we can use our imagination and a certain sense of innocence, perhaps, to open ourselves to mystical and spiritual experiences?
Yeah, it's the question already has answer in it. I can see that. So the first step is imagination. If we want to open ourselves, and all the shamans, they were using their imagination, and it's already, you know, as a Buddhist say, every time we dream, so we actually live in a dream. So many times we can change our state, right? And shamans they were aware how to deal with that, how to go deeply in that. So the simple imagination, for example, you can close your eyes and imagine something and fantasizing, and if you see that in details, and if you feel so fully and like it's a reality, and you are like almost 100% there, so then it becomes like whatever you pray there, whatever you wish, it becomes true. And that what shamans say, in my culture, everything starts from imagination, and you have to be like open and pure with that imagination, like believing like a child, because when we were children, we didn't have all of this, you know, hesitation that it's not true or it doesn't exist. We all believed in, you know, in this culture, Santa Claus, or in my culture, Khan, who would come and give to us gifts. So that's a beautiful state of us, and so powerful. We forgotten when we become an adult. It's kind of, you know, blocked. I mean, it's there. It stays. It's inside of us, and it's just blocked by something else. And it's very much dependent on which channel we are tuning with. Shamans say that our body is like a radio device, like a cell phone, and we have antenna, what we can't see, but it exists. And he says, Cherkov, one of the powerful shaman of the Saka, he says that we might tune with any radio channel, jazz or rock or pop, but you are able to choose which one you would like to be with. And I see that in imagination it's also the same. You can bring that, you can catch that wave. It's everything there, and the air we can't see as a wave, but we can catch it, and it all starts from the imagination. So if you imagine good things, you are already tuned with that channel, and your channel is open, and you will invite good information to yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And can you stay for a few more minutes? I want to give Mark and Danny a chance, but we're loving what you're saying. And a couple of the comments that came in that I just wanted to read to you. Stephanie writes, yes, this is how I see it. Every area, every city has a spirit. So she's thanking you for that. And Heather is asking in a moment if you'd be willing, when we bring you back on, to talk about bee shamanism. I'm not familiar with what bee shamanism is.
Bee?
Yeah, like a little buzzing bee. Bee
bee shamanism.
Bee shamanism. So that's
interesting. Never heard about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she asked. So thank you, Zarina.
Thank you so much.
And a reminder that Zarina and her partner are finalists on America's Got Talent, which is very, very exciting. And also, they're going to be opening up their own cultural center. They've got some beautiful visions. So Zarina, please do let me know a little bit later on how people can support you, how people can find out more about you. Please put it in the chat box for right now. And also, when I bring you back on, let us know how we can support your beautiful vision. And speaking of supporting beautiful visions, I'm going to turn it over to Danny Sheehan and Mark. And Mark has done so much to support us to open our imagination and have all these remarkable experiences. Welcome, Mark, and hello, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to, tip my hat to Zarina. Zarina, you are a wise sage. Every word you speak is truth. I can tell you from firsthand experience, and you're one of the most articulate spiritual teachers that I've ever encountered. Just in the last few minutes of listening to you, and then it was a couple of weeks ago, I believe, that we were on Saturday Night Alive together, and you took the mic and shared some of your wisdom with all of us. And I said, this woman is amazing and has important knowledge that she is bringing, and not just knowledge, but medicine. And I really want to acknowledge you. You are amazing and a real gift to the world. I want to just acknowledge you before I say anything else.
Martin, thank you so much.
So I know this because my background is in one of the fields that I studied heavily was nanotechnology, and that led me into the study of viruses and bacteria, something that I really did not know very well before I started a company called Nanorex, and we developed this 3D molecular modeling system for designing molecular machine systems. And what I ended up developing with a team of 13 of us was this computer design program that was literally capable of designing a virus, a synthetic virus, and not just designing it, but synthesizing it in the lab. And that's when I shut my business down. I got a visit from the CIA because I was doing the rounds at nanotechnology conferences, and I was being very open about where we were taking the software and new features that we were adding to the software. And I soon learned that viruses were an easy target design for us to use to see, what was possible. And then the light bulb went on that, maybe this isn't such a good idea. And, one of the people that I read along the way was a man named Francis Crick, who was a scientist in the UK, who discovered the helix structure of DNA using imaging technology called crystallography. And we found out after his death that he was using LSD as a way to help him in his research, that this seemed to give him access to other forms of information that most of us may not have access to without, these gateways or doorways. And it's pretty clear that he was, able to have these spiritual encounters with beings that were showing him, the helical structure of DNA. And it's very clear that that's what happened. He has, I have his book here. This is What Mad Pursuit by Francis Crick. So he was, the guy who discovered the helical structure of DNA. And one of my favorite quotes from the book, which I actually wrote down, I wrote this down back in about 2016 when I was reading, many areas of fields of study, because I wanted to understand my own contact experience with Tejbar. And he was actually encouraging me to read certain areas and certain people. For instance, he suggested I read Sigmund Freud, and specifically the psychic apparatus model, as part of my education, my spiritual science education, as I like to call it. But this quote directly from the book I just showed you is, "Almost all aspects of life are engineered at the molecular level. And without understanding molecules, we can only have a very sketchy understanding of life itself." And I think what he was giving there was a real clue to the nature of consciousness, that the molecules in the forms of enzymes and bacteria and the organelles in our cells like mitochondria are literally conscious beings. And what I encourage everyone to do is go on YouTube and do a search on DNA transcription animation. And what they have is amazing animations that show how a cell divides through the mitosis process. And part of that process is making a copy of the nucleus, or I should say the chromosomes inside the nucleus of the mother cell, and dividing it so that an exact copy of the genome ends up in the daughter cell. And all the machinery that goes into that, like DNA synthase and other, our enzymes, when you see what's the orchestration and how quickly that happens, there is some, it appears to be divinely orchestrated, that these things, molecules, are coming together and making stuff happen through direction. It's not random. This is clearly guided, as though there's a puppet master orchestrating the complex interactions between all these molecules. And what it shows me, what I get from the animations, these molecules are conscious. They are absolutely driven to do the work that they do, and they move as though they're little bugs or little people doing their job. It's really amazing.
It's interesting that the reference. Did I miss something?
So I just, Serena was talking about viruses, that, we can be infected with viruses and bacteria that can affect our consciousness. And, they're trying to take over the body or elements of the body to, procreate. That's what they want. They in an effort to survive, they want to take over the factory or the mechanisms by which the replication mechanisms of the cell by which they can replicate. And that's what they do. And so they're very, they want to take over. And they do this in part by affecting the mind as well. And there's a collective consciousness that it's not just one virus, it's the collective consciousness of all the viruses working together that begins to take more and more or make more and more of a impact, the more and more control over our minds. And that's why when people get sick, especially alcoholics, that are addicted to alcohol, it's the the molecules that are enjoying the alcohol that are taking over the mind and creating the habitual drinking that leads to the disease. And people can't come out of that without help.
Wow. That's a very powerful sharing that you just.
Yeah, I would love to add a little bit for that. It's very fascinating, and what shamans say is the just imagine that time we didn't have electricity and no doctors, no medical service. It was just a shaman using, instead of giving pills, he was giving herbs, right? Or he can use part of the animals organs. So and the basic one is the sound. So through the sound and through the words, he might treat some of like the most dangerous disease. And I do believe personally that the sound is so powerful healing tool. And some of the viruses and bacteria who are in a certain frequency, they can die if you know how to do how to create the vibration where they feel uncomfortable. And that's pretty much related to Bon religion. It's in Tibetan Buddhism. There's a Bon shamanic religion before Buddhism came to Tibet. And this deep chanting, which is in the Tibet, Altai, Tuvan people, Mongolian, and Saka people, they describe it as a sound which has a special frequency, and it's against of the bacteria and viruses, so that can actually destroy them. And that's why it's very interesting for me. I'm trying to also heal myself, or to heal my friends who need for that, or some of my clients I'm talking to, or I'm doing the ceremonies, to try to heal themselves without pills. And it's just the power of the mind and the power of the vibration. So that's
absolutely
very
totally agree with you, Zarina. It's absolutely true. And there was a doctor, I believe in the 50s, named Royal Rife. That was his name. His first name was Royal. His last name was Rife. He was famous for discovering and inventing a machine, rather, that created certain frequencies that could kill cancer cells, but not affect healthy cells. And it was a controversial invention that he came up with. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories centered around it. But what I found in my research is that this technology actually works, and it uses certain frequencies. And these are the same frequencies that we can utter with our own voices. And so I believe this is at the, this technology that we hear about from Rife and other, new technologies that heal people or otherwise make them feel better are, it's the same thing as the kind of thing you do and how you affect yourself and others that hear your beautiful voice.
I want to acknowledge,
Thank you.
We're getting some wonderful comments coming in. So I just want to acknowledge some of our, 200 people that are in the Zoom room and such. Julie writes, I was thinking how similar the Q sound we've been singing is similar to the Tibetan mantras.
That's right.
Robert Perala.
That's exactly right. So Zarina may not be aware of that, but I'm sorry. I thought Scott was done talking. I'm sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead and you can talk about that. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah. I just wanted to the person who mentioned the hue, which is the spiritual exercise that I use as part of the CE6 meditation. This is the meditation that we used throughout the Harmonic Convergence 10-day event, in which we around the globe synchronized a meditation in which we sang a note, hue. And it's not just one note. It's we all have different tones that we use. And I encourage people just to use the tones that feel good to them, that resonate with them, and kind of let your intuition guide you. There isn't an exact note. And I myself actually tone at different notes using this. And I believe that this is very similar to the Tibetan and the other religious group that uses the hue is the Sufi. They don't say hue, they say who. But they sing it in the same way, and they do something a little bit different with their heads before they get into the chant of the who. But it's a very similar sound that they make, and this was something that Tejbar taught me, this extraterrestrial that I met in 2012.
Thank you, Mark. I want to read a couple more comments. Celestine, one of our panelists that we've heard from earlier and we'll hear from again, writes about the Rife machine, and that we are now moving into the age of electroceuticals medicine. And our good friend Trevor, that we raised money for, used a Rife machine quite a bit. And I want to acknowledge Julie Harmer, who's been talking a lot in our chat box about toning and the power of toning. I also want to introduce Maya Monasteros, who, of course, works with Mark. And Maya, I'm going to put the spotlight on you. Of course, you and I have been chatting. I'd love for you to share a little bit about your experience as somebody working with Mark and Unify, your observation of some of the experiences that people have been having as a result of opening their imaginations and opening during this kind of doorway that we've all been collaborating together. So welcome.
Thank you, Scott, for having me. And it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. Such an amazing group of people. And it's been an honor to work on this campaign, the Harmonic Convergence 2020, with Mark and Unify, and just so many people that brought it all together. The magic of it, I was sharing with Scott earlier, is that it was the ability to have this Zoom room after party that we had at the end of every day of broadcast programming, where people, hundreds of people that were participating, got to come on and meet each other and have this safe space to really share their experiences, their curiosity, and really, unpack this subject matter, which in a lot of circles might be taboo or very niche. We were able to engage people of all walks of life, of all cultures. 152 different countries around the world. The majority of countries around the world were participating, and we got to survey them and had like amazing results of finding that so many people had contact experiences, or believed that they were possible, believed that intelligent life exists in the universe, and that we should contact them, whether or not they even had their experience before. Talking like the numbers are 1.4 billion people on the planet believe that this exists, and that we should really make an effort to expand our consciousness and be able to have communication. So in our surveys, one of the things we found too is that not everyone had a sighting like of light ships in the sky. A lot of people did, but a lot of people also had incredible dreams, were visited in their dreams, or had amazing communications in their dreams, had a psychic awareness or sense that they were in communication with another type of sentient being from a different dimension, or different world. And so what's so beautiful about this is that we're this whole process of inviting people into the inquiry and inviting people into deeper meditation and opening their consciousness and intention really to have this communication happen for all of humanity really gave more access for people to have deeper connections with themselves, with nature, with all sentient life throughout the Gaia and throughout the universe. So what's so beautiful is the ground of interconnection which we all have, and sometimes just having the to focus on aspect of life brings forth the magic, brings forth the bridge to the other worlds, let's say activates our innate shamanic wisdom, because we all have access to this. And I love what Zarina was sharing. You know, it's deep in her culture and deep in my own. I grew up in being born in South America near the Amazon. I have indigenous lineage as well. I grew up in varying different shamanic and esoteric practices. So I was lucky to have access to those kinds of communications also, like a lot like Zarina, throughout my life, throughout childhood and my whole life. But I often found really saddened because at a very young age, I grew up also in the modern world and moved to LA when I was 4. And I also, felt like it was hard to translate these experiences to other people. And what I found was that it was mostly because the lifestyle and culture of the modern world has this undertone of separation, this undertone of compartmentalizing our experience and somehow separating us from how intimate the connection we have is with all of nature and this sentient force or intelligence, as Mark was talking about, that exists all the way down in the molecular level and all in the stars, galaxies, and planets. This sentient intelligence of life is what connects all of us. Whether you call it chi or great spirit or God, every tradition has a name or a relationship to that energy, that force, which binds us all together. And really the essence of that is love. It is grace. It is, this mystical divine experience that we can access in so many ways. We have shamanic practices to access it, sound frequency and dance and chanting and also just deep contemplation and meditation. But really there's many different pathways there's no one single pathway, just as much as there's colors in the rainbow and variety in human nature and art. The beauty is that we all have our own unique expression, our own unique connection that we get to discover. And for me, the harmonic convergence and what Mark is inviting is to make that personal connection, to open up, to deepen that innate wisdom and ask the questions. Because when we hold the question and the curiosity, we invite the answer. We're in this dance and dialogue with life itself, and no longer kind of to lift the veil and discover what's there on the other side. So that's definitely been the invitation. And it's been so cool to see the amount of people that have been reporting. We're talking about thousands and thousands of reports now from participants in these meditations. And some of them were skeptics. Some of them had never had experiences before. In fact, someone even in our core team that I introduced Scott to, she'll be videotaping herself in a testimonial to share at another time because she couldn't make it tonight. But she was all about global synchronized meditation and meditating for peace and harmony. But she was skeptical if we could actually make contact. But she went along and did the practices, made space for her curiosity and opened up. And lo and behold, her and her 11-year-old son and her coworker and colleague looked up at an incredible sighting experience, had psychic connection, had dialogue with this being of light that was moving across the sky, and were just changed forever. forever. And we're getting so many reports of that too, whatever, all across the spectrum of experience, but people that wouldn't have necessarily even entertained this in the past, actually opening up. And now this conversation is allowing us to normalize this again and return to the indigenous wisdom that's known all along, that we're not alone. At every scale, we're not alone. So part of that conversation and helping to amplify that message and invite more people to rewrite the story together and really help accelerate the evolution of humanity at this time, at this really important time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Maya. Thank you. I'm going to read a few comments that have been coming in, and then I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Trish, who's got some questions. But from our Zoom room, Anna writes, I'm so happy that I participated for this first time, and I had a download. My love for this community is something out of the ordinary. Thank you very much, Mark, from all my heart. Marie writes, I was woken up on the 14th with a voice telling me, send love and light over and over until I finally woke up. Zarina, by the way, has put in how to reach her, and you can reach her by going to her website, which is simple. It's Olox, O-L-O-X .life. Olox, O-L-O-X .life, for those who want to reach out to her. And in our Facebook room, I want to acknowledge Ilea Rose, who gave some really wonderful pointers of how to use sound and how to call upon the sound of our own body to get the healing that we're looking for. A couple more comments. Maddie writes, my dreams have become exponentially full of so much information these past 3 or 4 weeks. So it's very, very exciting. And we've got so many wonderful panelists that we want to hear from. We will get to Ellen Steinfeld, but I want to turn over to my partner, Trish, for a moment, who's got a couple of important questions that will open up to the panel.
Hi. Can I just make one comment right before we move on, just on the thread?
Sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to also let people know that if they want to engage more and read the stories, look at the data and the surveys, look at some of the videos we're going to be putting out, they can interact on newstory.earth/THC 2020. And we're still taking surveys from people that want to add their voice to this collective new story we're birthing. So I just wanted to make sure everyone had that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll put that into the Facebook chat as well. Thank you, Maya.
I wanted to come back to the toning and the harmonics of the harmonic convergence a little bit. And just for each of you to think about and maybe answer as you come up is what does harmonic convergence mean to you? And answer for, our viewers as well. And just, how does some of us who want connection with others, how does one prepare or invite that in? How do we invite them in? And is it, if I was just to be like, all right, I'm ready, come hang out with me, I'm ready for you now. Come over, my door's open, I got cold beverages, come on over. and is there a tone? I noticed that Mark was saying he tones, and I was like, oh wow, can we tone for invitation, and can we tone for connection? So those are some of my questions that I'd really like to hear from all of you. Thank you.
Anybody want to tackle that? Opening it up.
Well,
Alan,
yes.
Alan and then Celestine. And by way of introduction, this is Alan Steinfeld. He runs New Realities. He's interviewed hundreds of people over the last 30 years. And he's actually streaming us right now on his YouTube channel. And Alan's been involved with this field for a long time. So welcome, Alan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. It's great. And thanks for your commitment to this process of awakening. So just to answer the first part, what the harmonic convergence means to me is that just think of what we've been going through for the last 4 or 5 months. The whole planet has been through an intensive reformatting. We've been birthing ourselves anew. And what the harmonic convergence did these last 10 days was like being the midwife to this new consciousness. It gave us a direction. It gave us a map to how to unfold this new future that is at the end of this tunnel. We can't go back to where we've come from, but now we've had a map, and it's like these 10 days and Mark leading it through the Tejbar guidance. We've been in a mystery school. If you know what mystery schools are, it's a total dedication to spirit. So what, for me, the harmonic convergence has done, and to other people I've talked to, it's given us the validity of spirit, that we can live in a new society with that new story, that we are part of the cosmos, that there's no separation, that sound and light and frequency make up the greater body. And it was really, still a miraculous time. We are being birthed anew, and I'm so happy we're part of this global community to witness it with each other. So that's what it meant to me.
Oh God, thank you so much. That was beautiful, Alan, beautiful. And I'll pop this spotlight on Celestine. Celestine, what are some of your responses to Trish's question or questions?
So, what is the harmonic convergence to me is just, it's been a 33-year journey. We started in 1987, and it was a clarion call. It was almost like this, the movie Contact, where everybody was just showing up and they didn't know why, and they just felt it in their heart. And as we came together, a lot of us were studying the Sufi, and so we made circles, and there was drum circles with drumming, and into the night. It didn't stop for 2 days, and then we went to Shasta, and there was 2,000 people who had gathered. It's an internal calling within the self, and I feel that now, 33 years later, this whole harmonic convergence. And I know Mark had spoke to me, when we were down in Los Angeles at the New Living Expo, at the Conscious Life Expo, where we met, that he had this vision of bringing people together. And so I'm so excited to watch it unfold just from that time. And here we are, everybody gathering, and it became the word. It was the word. Are you going to harmonic conversion? So I felt it was that clarion call again. I felt it was coming from a higher dimension, that people who heard it and gathered. I had 50 people at our circle. It was very amazing. Usually our sky watches are kind of smaller and intimate. And even though it was cold, everybody was there. Hearts are open. And those who have been on the path of the higher consciousness, that are holding the higher frequency, while there's the birthing canal, the birthing of humanity, cracking open the heart with all the sadness and the traumas and the scary and the frightening and the deaths and all of that. But there's that upper level of people who are holding the heart. And I honor Jose Arguelles and Lloydine for consciously placing the seed within humanity that we can reach the higher levels and communicate. So most of us who have been on that path for 33 years, we started the process of gathering together. And I call us the Squirrel Tribe because we're still gathering. We don't know what we're gathering, but we come together, we gather, we share information, and then we keep going. So this harmonic conversion has been really insightful for me. It gave me a place to come forward because I've had contact for so long. Our grouping, the Galactic Earth Council, has had 10 years of direct communication and contact. And we did disclosure, 10 years ago. And it's been an unfolding. And so this has been quite an experience. And so I'm really grateful to Mark and Maya. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Celestine, for being with us for so long. And we'll hopefully hear more from you in a bit. I want to introduce another panelist that's joined us. This is Devara, and she's a contactee, and she was on our show last week. And I was so impressed with what you had to share. I wanted to invite you to come back again. I'm curious, during this week, did you have any experiences? This was kind of a time that a lot of people were tuning in. Anything you can share?
Yes, actually, it was on the 15th. I go out every night and look at the stars, and I know where most of them are at the time of year. And in the summer, it's not as many stars. And I was helping my girlfriend get through some things on the phone, and I was outside. And then as soon as I finished with her, I looked up, and the whole sky was covered with tons and tons of stars that were not like normal. And I'm like, oh my God, hi, star family, you're here. And on the 14th, I looked up, and it was just hardly any stars, no clouds. But it was 15th for me. Maybe they came from California over to Sedona, you know. But what's really, really beautiful is I've been a musician all my life, a sound healer, for almost 30 years now. And, you know, the sound is activational, and it brings you into higher states of consciousness. I talked about the chakras. It's really more important than people even know. A lot of people go, oh yeah, I know about the chakras, but the classes I teach are 3-day intensives of about each chakra. That's how much information there is on the chakras. When I was overnight in the Great Pyramid in Egypt, Archangel Gabriel came to me. He announced himself, and he tells me this information. He says, color, light, sound. 7 is the sacred number. 7 is the sacred number. Color, light, sound. And he kept repeating this over and over to me. And I said, oh, he's talking about the 7 colors of the rainbow. He's talking about the 7 chakras. So when I got home from Egypt, I started writing my Chakra Journey CD. And what's really fascinating was he comes in and we help me with each tone for each chakra. Now this is in 1997, you know, which not a lot of sound healing was happening back then. So I started to record the CD in my recording studio, and I did the first chakra, I did the root chakra, and then I went to do the second chakra, and he comes in and he says, not yet, not time. And I literally could not do it. Nothing worked in my studio. And I'm like, what is going on? Long story short, he was teaching me about timing. Long story short, 4 years this went on. And then 9/11 happened. The day after 9/11 happened, he comes in and he goes, okay, it's time now for the chakra CD. And it was for healing. And that became, actually, that CD really took off wild that year. It was 2001. And I got so many beautiful responses from emails. It's like, oh my God, you relieved my pain, my stress, my fear, just listening to that CD. And that was what it was all about. I'm just still getting goosebumps and thanking Archangel Gabriel for helping me with it.
That's beautiful, you know, and what I really like about that story that's important for us today is that we all want to have experiences, right? And for some people, we have experiences, and some people we don't, or we don't have it exactly when we want. And that's one of the things. I've been in this mystical world for a very long time. I had my first mystical experience when I was 10 years old. I've been producing television and around this since 1994. And the thing about it is that the best bet is open our imagination, be open, be available, but don't be attached. Be in that receptive place where we're open, we're receptive, and just be enjoying the stars. And if you see something, great. And if not, enjoy the stars, being present with what is. And when we do have an experience, not to make a religion out of it, but to just appreciate how blessed I am to have had this out-of-body experience, or to have had this extraterrestrial experience, or to have this lucid dream with my deceased loved one. So that being said, I thought it might be kind of fun. I'm going to show a video that did just take place. This was sent to the Harmonic Convergence team. And this is something that just took place in Auburn, California. So this is only a minute and a half. But what's really fun is listening to the little kid who's all excited because he's seeing a UFO.
Holy cow, that's humongous and bright. Your place make a very big blink.
Very big blink.
That's really close to Earth.
That is huge.
We
Hey,
know
I wonder
where
if
it
that's
is.
what they're also yelling
I
at.
think it is.
Wow. Thank you. That's definitely a ship, kids. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thank
Hello.
you for coming. Hi. But they can't hear me.
Yes, they can.
Telepathy, remember?
Hello. Why are you dipping out? Why are you dipping? Thank you for coming so much.
There you go.
You know what I love about that video is just the innocence of the child, right? Hi, hi. Why are you blinking out? You know, it's like so childlike, right? We get so excited. And that level of innocence, I think, is a really important quality. It's what Zahira was talking about, Serena was talking about that innocence and that openness and opening our imagination. Very, very important.
You know, I want to say something that kid will grow up knowing that we exist in a universe with other beings. That is an evolution right there. We just witnessed that. Because anytime you see something in the sky like that you can't understand, it's a shift. But if you grow up with it, you're already in that vibration. So we are witnessing that evolution, and it's beautiful. And thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for adding that. That's really important.
Yeah.
Celestine saw something. So I'm going to put the spotlight on Celestine for a moment. Give me a second, Celestine. I'll pull up the photo you sent me. But tell us a little bit about what took place for you recently.
So we had a most, let's see, which one are you putting up? The
I'm going to put up the one you just sent me.
There, I sent you 3, so.
Pulling them up right now, so.
The one from the nighttime.
I'll start with the one from a little while back. The one that you described the other night. And
right.
That right there.
So it's been a long walk to have that connection to the High Spiritual Council and the Galactic Star Federation. On this day, I was out with some friends out in the San Francisco Bay, and the the galaxy ships, so there's terrestrial ships that are seen where they traverse the Earth. They don't need a galaxy ship to go around the Earth. But this one came in, it just phased in, and you can see that there are 3 galaxy ships parked exactly next to each other. And then there's some going further back. If you blow this up and get closer, you'll see the very fine line, and it becomes very obvious that this is not a cloud. The commander of this ship spoke very clearly to me. He said, "The time is now." And so they've been observing us. We blew out our shield during the atomic bomb blastings. I was there when the heavens were ripped into 2, and that brought kind of an attention to us, but it is time now, and they're here. So even when you feel it in your heart, they're so sensitive that they kind of know when you're going out into the night. I've often been going outside, and all of a sudden they're right overhead. They know exactly where I'm going, or a ship will come and fly with me. There's such magnificence, but the study of this was our 10th anniversary Skywatch, and the 2 at the bottom, we had a galaxy ship that parked itself up in the sky, and then 2 little scout ships were hovering and making pyramidal shapes and making shapes, and everybody was doing as the child was doing and screaming, you know, glory in the light of the radiant one. And the 2 little ones decided they were going to move closer and closer, and I said, wait for it, they're going to do it, and they switched places, and everybody just screamed. So that was the moment where they teased us. And then we have the last one. So this was the 14th, and often they have us come out in the day. So everybody is there, and we're just getting settled. And the High Spiritual Council and the Galactic Star Federation are a part of this reintegration process. And over the years, what they've done is they begin to appear in different forms, like you saw when one split in two and split in three. So they'll come out as an airplane or something that begins to lose the wing, or it's a hologram. And so your brain begins to question. So we had about 5 people taking pictures of this. And as they took the picture, their brain was saying, is that real? Is that happening? It's a part of the process to question and try to figure out, is this really happening? So this particular cigar shape, if you really blow it up big, it becomes very clear behind the fog. You could see the brilliance of this metallic ship, and it stayed there for 45 minutes, and 2 little small ones, so that you could actually look at it and take it in, and it's a part of their working with all of us. So there's not so much a need to get into that place of meditation or to raise your frequency, because in a sense you're already doing that, to be present and take yourself out to greet them. They know that they're there, they're our relatives. So they're doing something because they love you, and they're prepared for you. And the radiant one, the sorcial one, has decreed for them to go and offer their assistance in your awakening. So I've seen command ships come over and fly so low, turn all their lights on, and everybody have an orgasm. So I love that. So get ready. It just keeps unfolding. And thank you, Scott, for letting me share.
Absolutely. Thank you, Celestine. I always enjoy reading some of the comments coming in. Noel writes, I saw something like that last Saturday. It filled the sky from north to south, but the rest of the sky was clear. Blue sky, very, very pronounced. And so it's just really, it's exciting when we're having these experiences. But I want to ask a hard question, and this is open to anybody in the panel. What do you have to say to people that are really wanting to have an experience and it hasn't happened? They haven't seen something, they haven't had that magical experience that they're seeking. Does anybody want to kind of, Maya, she's raising her hand.
Yeah, I hope you forgive me, but I'm gonna be speaking about my partner because he's definitely one that was really wanting an experience, and we have all these mystical experiences together and ceremonies together, and I would always have, he happened to just somehow miss a sighting or miss the actual like full body experience that I would be, or communication that I would be having. And I think that it's when my experience with him too, it's when you just relax and you don't attach to the outcome, and you've said this already, Scott, you just become more open to the possibility, but not have to have it happen, and just get in touch with that innocent childlike curiosity, and you show up and magical things happen. And that's what happened for him. He came out to the site, our main broadcast site with Mark in Ojai, and had made so many efforts to make contact and hadn't had it happen yet, but was like, you know what, I'm not going to have any expectations. I'm just here to help hold the field of meditation and high vibration. And he sat down and was just totally chill. He wasn't like, I have to have this experience. And then we do the hue, we did the chanting, we did the meditation, and there was this long like contemplation of silence, and there was nothing in the sky for a while. And then of course it was him that actually caught the first sighting and could see it in the sky. And it was like, and he started to become like an expert at like spotting them after that. So I just think it's just a lesson to be, it's when we really want it and we're like attached to it that we tend to sort of, maybe it's not our time, and it becomes like it evades us, but it's when we just open to possibility and stay in our childlike innocence that these things occur when we're ready and when we're relaxed about it. So that's just what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Maya. That's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Alan Steinfeld.
Yeah, well, I've wanted an experience for a long time. And then when I finally had one, I was freaked out, oh my God, they were here. They contact. So that was in the 80s, but still it took me years to kind of say, did that really happen? And then when it did happen, there was a whole other level that opened up. And in a way, we're having experiences right now. We are all extraterrestrials and meeting each other. But for the people who really want one, I recommend getting night vision glasses, which amplifies the light 1,000 times. They have it at Contact in the Desert. So if you want to see ships, look at the sky, the night sky, through these night vision glasses. You will see things you can't see with the naked eye, moving across the sky, splitting into two, coming together. I mean, I'd say 90% of the people who use the night vision glasses have something like that. But it's also a feeling. It's also, a friend of mine was sort of channeling the other day and was like giving us a buzz. And I just felt the reality shift. And there are people who don't expect it at all, and boom. So I'm saying it happens in many, many different ways, but it's happening more now. Sightings in the last 2 years are up 200-300% to the UFO reporting side in places. So it's going to happen. The more that people are just open, like Maya said, the more we allow this other space of being and for our reality to shift. This is what we've been in the last 4 months, a reality upgrade, and we are about to meet the others in a bigger way. So it's happening. Just hang in there if you haven't seen one. And there's so many different ways to have that experience, but they're here.
Well, thank you. We're going to go to Mark Sims in a moment, but I want to read a couple more comments and also share something. There's a wonderful comment from Morgine who talks about how she went outside, but her land was full of trees. She really wanted to have an experience. So then she went back home and it was inside her own home that she had an experience. So again, sometimes it comes in a different way. And you can read in the chat box, it's a longer story. I'm kind of paraphrasing it down, but thank you, Morgan, for sharing that. And a question that we're going to go to in a moment is, and I think it's really pertinent. Someone named Soleil writes, what does awakening mean to all of you? Is it realizing that we're divine beings, that we're not alone in the universe? I've been hearing everywhere I go, it's time to awaken. And so my question is to what? So there's a good question for you to ponder. But I also want to share kind of a personal story about when we were wanting to have an experience. When I was 23, my father died, and my dad was my best friend. We were very, very close. And I was blessed to have a series of lucid dream experiences in which he came to me and he kind of talked to me about what he was experiencing out of the body. I talked to him about what was going on in my life. And I had many of those with him. And then they became fewer and fewer. And then many years went by. And the very last experience, he came and he no longer recognized me as Scott, who had been his son, just as a soul. And they let me know that he was no longer going to be available to connect in this way because he was merging into a different dimension where he wouldn't be available. So I had that experience at an early age. When my mother got sick, I lived with her the last years of her life, or the last 6 weeks of her life. And we had talked a lot about my experiences with Dad, and she believed. And so I asked her, I said, hey, Mom, because we knew she was dying, she was in hospice. We talked very candidly about it. And we agreed that she would come and visit me. That was 10 years ago. Nothing. Never had an experience. And my mom and I were very close. We made the agreement. Nothing. Then my wife got a brain tumor, and my wife and I also talked about this. They will come and visit, lucid dream. And it took 18 months from the time she died until I had that lucid dream experience. But when we talked about it, she said, oh no, for me, it's just been very, very fast. So time is so different. Moral of the story is we never really know for sure. Oh, I always love the words. It truly is a great mystery. And we all need to remember that. It's a great mystery. And each of us have our own unique experience of life, our own unique journey. And one of my favorite people who was having a unique journey is my partner in the show, Trish. who's going to take the first shot at answering about awakening?
I think that there's many experiences of awakening, awakening to one's divinity, awakening to one's own perceptions of the world, awakening to the fact that there's something bigger than us and that we are not the only creatures in the entire universe that are able to communicate and move around. So I think that for me, the time to awaken is the time to expand my capacity, that it's all not just here, but it's everywhere, right? That I'm connected to everything and there is no I, there is just we.
Totally agree with that, and thank you. And I'm going to put the spotlight on Mark. We haven't heard from Mark for a little bit. Mark, do you want to tackle the whole question about what is awakening and what that means to you?
Yeah, I think there are levels to it. It's like a lotus flower. There are levels and stages, and so that's what makes it difficult to really wrap our heads around, because it's subjective, number one, and number two, it's complex. It's hard to wrap your head around the statement, we're all one. Conceptually, we understand from the Big Bang that we all come from this primordial, we'll call it explosion of the universe, in which it expands rapidly from some infinite dense point of heat and plasma energy that grows rapidly and becomes the universe that we now observe. So in that sense, it's conceptually to begin understanding that we all come from that Big Bang, and that connects us. And all things in the universe comes from that, so it also connects us to all things in the universe. And then you can say, well, all things are conscious. And you could go so far as to make the statement, which I've heard many people say, all things are consciousness. Now, I think it's easier to understand the first. I would like to use the word awareness in place of consciousness as a way to be more specific by what we mean by conscious. So when I met Tejbar, we spent this 13 days in communion, and over that 13 days, he shared with me something that I consider the magnus opus of our experience together, of my teaching, or my learning rather. It was his teaching to me. And in that model, which I call the Universal Consciousness Development Chart, there are 15 dimensions of consciousness, 9 dimensions of freedom, and 2 dimensions of time that all relate to the vast subject we're talking. And so there are these levels of awakening on all these different areas of dimension or dimensionality. I'm going to come back to consciousness. So Tejbar explained to me that there are 15 dimensions of consciousness organized into 3 realms of creation. And I believe these 3 realms are the exact realms that Zarina earlier spoke to, the high, the middle, and the low. And we are in the lower or densest realm. And he explained it to me this way, that in the early universe, when the explosion first happened, that was the beginning. Time began at that point, and time is basically, you can think of as change. So the universe at every time unit, or every unit of time that you want to call, whether it's a second or a microsecond or a nanosecond, there is change happening from the second before. And over time, as the universe continues to grow in this initial phase of its birth, we have nothing but energy. There are no atoms, there are no stars, there are no planets, and certainly there are no human beings. At some point, though, what Tejbar explained to me, as the universe expands, the leading edge of the expansion, which is creating space, is cooling down, because just like a bullet from the gun begins slowing down and cooling down after it leaves the barrel, the further away it goes, it's beginning to lose energy. And as a consequence, it's cooling down. And it hits what he called a transition point, which specifically he called a harmonic resonance barrier. And this barrier, he said, think of it as a transition state between the states of matter. So matter has three states. Gas is the most energetic, like steam. Let's take water as an example. So steam is very energetic. Molecules full of heat energy are bouncing rapidly against each other, and they expand rapidly, a gas of steam. But over time, as it cools down, and as a consequence, you know, it's expanding, it will cool down because there's a relationship between pressure and volume. It's cooling down, and at the leading edge, the steam transitions into liquid water. It condenses. So that's the transition point, and there's specific conditions and temperatures by which water will do this. And then it continues to expand. The universe is expanding, and now another transition point occurs, and that is analogous to water changing into ice, a solid. So you have the three states of matter: gas, liquid, and solid. And he explained to me that we are the solid. The physical realm is a solid, and that the universe has within it these dimensions or realms by which we came from. And so there's that. And all these realms have something in common, and that is they're aware. And now the question is, what is the level of that awareness? So if you were to be one of more of a typical theistic philosophy, that there is a God, that it's obviously the mind of God, the consciousness of God that is always present at the moment of the Big Bang. And as the universe continues to expand as nothing more than plasma energy, there's one consciousness. All plasma energy is in a similar state or identical state until it hits this first harmonic resonance barrier. It's kind of like hitting a barrier, and that barrier scatters the energy. And now you get a fluctuation, or you get many fluctuations of energy. And this gives rise to the first particles, or I would say strings, that make up reality in the physical realm. So these, again, as the universe expands, it hits a second harmonic convergence barrier or harmonic resonance barrier, and that gives rise to what we see in the universe now. But that process really begins with the creation of atoms, and specifically to hydrogen, which has one proton and one electron. And once you have these huge gas clouds that are being created, and that you can think of glass hydrogen gas clouds being created in the physical realm as ice, in my analogy before, ice forming. And you know, it's growing rapidly. And now, because hydrogen is matter and matter has mass, gravity begins to take over. And gravity begins to draw the gas together into these large spheres. And at the center of these spheres, great pressure is created that causes the fusion that lights up the star, the very first atomic star. And in our universe, you can imagine it, there was the very first star, and I like to call it the atomic star. And that was conscious, believe it or not. According to Tejbar, stars are conscious, planets are conscious, and I know I'm speaking to the choir here, that yes, indeed. But all these things I'm talking about now, in terms of consciousness associated with planets, and I would go, and let me say also that atoms are conscious. There's no question that they're conscious. That an atom, let's take for instance a carbon atom, it will bond chemically, creating covalent bonds with other atoms that are looking to share electrons with a neighboring carbon atom. They create these networks of covalent bonds that create things like diamond or polycarbons, that like petrol, hydrocarbons, and even things like us, nucleotides, amino acids, all these molecules in which carbon and other elements combine to create larger aggregate structures. And those have a new kind of consciousness. Now, the atom consciousness becomes one with other atoms of other element types. And this gives rise to a new kind of consciousness. And the consciousness of a molecule, for instance, like vitamin D or a nucleotide, is determined by its surface structure, or what we call its electrostatic potential. And that determines how it's going to dock with a neighboring molecule and create aggregate structures yet again. And that gives rise to a new kind of consciousness. And this is the way it works. And you can think of human beings being made of our constituent units being cells, and we have roughly 80 trillion cells within us. They aggregate into specialized structures like the heart, the kidney, the pancreas, and other organs in our body. They create a symbiotic relationship with one another to create a human being. But these cells that are constituents of the heart are individual units, and you can think of them as a unit of consciousness, but they really function with other heart cells to do an important job within the human body or the body of the animal of which it's a part. So I'm sorry, I'm going to stop there because I've been going on, but I hope to illustrate that there are many awakenings in just what I've shared with you, and that the 15 dimensions of consciousness that I mentioned before are organized according to Tejbar, 5 dimensions of consciousness in the physical realm of which we are a part, and they correspond directly to the 5 senses. Above that are 5 other dimensions of consciousness that correlate to ESP, astral projection, or remote viewing is another example of this. Social memory complexes, which we have learned from the raw material. If you've read Carla Ruckart, and then, omnipresence, omniscience are all examples of the highest level of consciousness, being a member of the Godhead, being a cell within the mind of the Godhead. And that is what Tejbar is.
Thank you, Mark. And speaking of Tejbar, actually, Julia has a question, and that was, did Tejbar ever talk to you about lucid dreaming? Did he give you any input or advice about that?
Lucid dreaming is an aspect of consciousness in the astral realm. So this middle realm that we speak of is a realm of creation in which thought manifests into streams of awareness, for lack of better words. And I'm kind of going off the cuff here, but if you remember the movie Contact, in which Jodie Foster enters the machine that has been built and it starts spinning, and all of a sudden she finds herself transported to a new place in which she seems to be walking with her father, who has recently died. And they're having a conversation. They're walking along this beautiful beach. The ocean is lapping the shoreline, and she's having this conversation. And that whole sequence is very dreamlike. And it's because she has been transported, if you will, to the astral realm. And this is analogous to the astral body being disassociated with the physical body so that it can experience the astral realm. And it's a very dreamlike experience. And we can enter this dreamlike realm when we sleep.
Thank you. I'm going to turn over to you in a moment, Ellen. I just want to say this has been a large part of my personal experience, has been lucid dreaming and having connection to the astral plane. And if any of you are interested in knowing more about the astral plane, There's all sorts of wonderful books, but a wonderful description of it is an autobiography of Yogi, the classic book by Paramahansa Yogananda. I think it's chapter 41. It's called The Resurrection of Sri Yukteswar. And it's where he connects with his guru, who's recently passed, in the astral plane. And it's such a beautiful written description of the astral. And it goes very much along kind of how I've experienced it. And some people could call the astral plane heaven. Right? My mother, God bless her soul, one of the last things she wanted to know is, am I going to see you in heaven? I said, yes, Mom. I'll be calling it the astral plane. But yes, I'll see you in heaven. So anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to my partner and buddy, Alan Steinfeld.
Well, thank you, Scott. No, I just had a few things came up for me as you were talking, because I had the chance to go to Australia and study with the Aborigines. And they are the oldest continuous culture on the planet. 60,000 years they've maintained a sort of spiritual tradition. They're also some of the most spiritual people I've been around. When I got to the airport, I was with they sang us onto the land. So this whole thing about vibration, they welcomed us to their content with a song. It's like, it was strange. We're right in the middle of the airport there, and we're meeting this group of Aborigines, and they're singing to us in their traditional language. But it sort of did something. It welcomed us into that energy field. So I had a chance to also spend some evenings talking to the elders, and they said their religion basically is dream time. It is the lucid dreaming mind. And they sort of told me how to do it, and I've been practicing it ever since, more lately, more during this last few months. But as you watch yourself falling asleep, there's a moment when the normal thoughts start to drop away, and you start to see, I would call it visions of the unknown. You start to see things you don't expect come into your field, and then you're in dream time. And then from that, you could start to ask questions of the dream time and tune into other levels, but it's always something unknown. It's not the normal thoughts that you have. That's the key to know you're in dream time. And it's magical when you could stay lucid enough to witness the flow of, in a way, it's the universal current flowing into our brains, our mind. Then you're part of everything in a way. And there's some saying I heard that, in a sense, we're always dreaming, but our conscious mind makes such a loud noise we can't hear it. So we have this dream time practice available because that's who we are as humans, and we can practice that. And the more we're lucid in our dream times, the more we're lucid in life. That's what it seems. Don't you think so, Mark? I mean, this is the Tejbar experience was a sort of waking dream for you.
Well, it was more than a waking dream for sure. I had a very strong experience. It was nothing like a dream, really. And I'm thinking of the 13 days of my communion with Tejbar back in 2012. I felt like the flatlander that was plucked off of the surface of flatland and allowed to observe the flatland from a higher place, and then softly let back down to try to share with the world, or with my family anyway, what I had experienced, which was very difficult because there were no words. And I've really made it my life's purpose, in part, to tell my story in a way that it can be understood by the layperson. And I find it's really helpful in allegory and storytelling and analogy to convey many of these complex concepts that I learned in my experience, and what I've learned since then, because my experience with Tejbar didn't end after the 13 days. I've had many interactions with him over the last 8 years.
Thank you. I've got a wonderful question that just came in, and so I'm going to read it. And it's from Ilea Rose, and she writes, first of all, she writes, "This is so interesting, all about connection, relationship. And then she wants to know about where the whole idea of the Divine Mother fits in. Where does Mother Earth and Divine Mother fit into the way that we see things and the way that creation is managed? And I want to tackle that first and then hear from our other amazing guests. I believe in, as Mark said, planets are alive, stars are alive, the little cells of our body are alive. Everything has its own consciousness. And so I often think of Mother Earth, Gaia, as my true mother. And I've worked a lot because I'm a coach and with my living coaching people. And so many people have big disillusionment with their human mother. And as we get older, we have to recognize that our human mother has less and less capability. And some of us had human mothers who were never very capable of being good mothers. And a lot of people end up really messed up about that. Like, what's wrong with me? My mother didn't love me. She didn't nurture me, whatever it might be. And I always encourage people, and this is what I've done. I loved my human mother. I was very close to her. And I pretty much let go of attachment to her meeting my needs a long time ago and replaced it with Mother Earth, because that is who is always meeting my needs. If you're lonely, guess what? You're always being held by Mother Earth. It's called gravity. As I'm talking, your beautiful body temple is doing all these incredible things, breathing in the air, creating new cells, purifying your blood, digesting your food. Having a little bit of trouble with that hamburger you had, the guy over there. But for most of us, our bodies are doing these incredible things, supporting us. So I pray a lot to Mother Earth. I give gratitude to Mother Earth, and I ask Mother Earth for her blessings, because she's big and she can nurture me in ways that no human being ever possibly could. So that's kind of my own personal relationship to Divine Mother, Mother Earth. It's something I encourage anybody to cultivate. And I'll open it up to my other panel members. Anybody else who wants to tackle? Celestine, you got your hand up there. There you are.
I just want to take a deep breath into that. And I do want to say to Mark that I get what you are experiencing when you are taken from this dimension into another dimension. And it is complete with objects and moving and speaking and connecting, and then brought back to this dimension. So I get it, and it does occur, and it is, to me, connected to the astral planes, but yet it is its own dimensional field. And I've been taken out many times by the galactics and shown things and then brought back. So I want to support you in recognizing perhaps it is for us to create that new language. It is different than the dream time. It's not as pliable. It is a specific dimension. So I just wanted to put that onto the altar. And as for the, yes, it happens all the time. And I've had Mother Pele. She came and she took me into her dimensional field. So I would say, where does the Mother Goddess fit into this? It is the feminine intelligence of creation. It does exist. I've had a lifelong experience with her. In having that Native American and that Native Egyptian, it's born into us to recognize the intelligences. The Egyptians call it the Netoru. And what I'm seeing for Earth is we've seen Nui, the Egyptian goddess of the night sky. And you'll see her arched over, and she births the sun every day. She births it out of her womb, and then it comes back through her mouth, and it circles around. But what I've been shown now is that the earth is being birthed, and we are held in the belly of the earth. We are held in the belly of the sky goddess, and she is called Nuit in Egyptian language. And so if we can just imagine we are in that feminine nature, she is the one that holds and contains all life. That feminine nature can be found in the waters. She can be found in the earth. And I love what you said, Scott, so gentle and pure. My relationship with the High Spiritual Council is that they are in love with nature and the forces. They have so much respect. It is a part of everything. And they say because it is created by the Radiant One, they have so much respect for how it is placed and where it is, its function and quality. So you as an idea are birthed into creation as an idea, and you are indestructible. And that feminine nature is that nurturing that allows for your existence. So when we go out into our Skywatch, we do the first round to the Mother Earth, and we've had things happen like 100 dragonflies will be all around us. Sometimes they get so excited they build a column of light and then they create clouds. They're very artisan, and I've seen them build a lotus with a Buddha sitting in it and then turn it fuchsia red. So there's a connection with the galactic intelligence. It moves from where we are as a human into just nature. There's no difference between their feeling of you as a human and nature and the forces. It's all one. And so that force that gives you the apples and the oranges, they have technologies that would assist us in creating an ecosystem that would enable us to have perfection in our ability to grow foods in balance with our whole system. And that's what they're waiting for. So if you're interested in those things, interested in the Mother Goddess, wherever your interest is, they're there to help us and to be present. So I just want to say the mother, I want to say an example is Pele took me to where she was, and she was rocking and rolling with her lava. She says, give her your fear. Give her your anger. So we did a whole meditation where we scooped up all the fear of the coronavirus and we gave it to Pele. And we had people putting their fear and their anger into the volcanoes from all over the world, Yellowstone. We did this with about 36 people. And she just, transmutes it into positive energy. So there's different goddesses. We went to Crete, and the goddess I was called to Crete, there's a calling in my heart. She speaks to. And so we went to Crete and we found the mother codes. She said, take the first breath that you ever took to become awakened as a baby and recognize how much power and what it took to bring your intelligence into the body that you have now. So she taught us the breath of life.
Beautiful.
She taught us
Beautiful.
the breath of life, and it was very powerful. So I say, she's there. She'll tell you all about it.
Many, many forms. What I'm really hearing from you is many different forms of the Divine Mother.
Yeah.
Many different opportunities.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing to that, Scott, was that the Great Mother is all things. We are the flesh of the Mother. The Mother, in a sense, is bigger than the archetypes. Archetypes are labels we put on aspects. This is how I understand it. And the Mother has birthed everything into creation. Everything that exists is of the Mother. So we, in a sense, are of the Mother, and we are an aspect of that. But it's bigger than what we can imagine, and it gives life and consciousness to all beings and all things. That's how I see the ultimate Divine Mother.
She is the all. She is
Beautiful.
all. Yay.
Yeah. I want to read a couple more comments. I really want to appreciate all the people in our Zoom room who've been commenting about the mother energy, a lot of acknowledgement, a lot of beautiful quotes there. And then from our Facebook group, Stephanie Campbell wrote something very beautiful. She wrote, the harmonic convergence means to me broadening our expanded consciousness. Awakening is just as subjective and relative as timing. So the term time for awakening is kind of like, well, it changes for everybody differently, like physical to spiritual, like the connection into everything around us, into the present. It's allowing us to serve our personal and interdependent dimensional purpose. So, thank you for that. And again, I try and read from as many people as I possibly can. One last little thing, David wrote something beautiful. He writes, I am the sky, mother. I am the sky. I am the vast blue ocean of sky. I'm a little drop of the sky. Frozen sky, frozen sky. Kind of almost like a haiku quality there. So kind of open it up to, we haven't heard from Mark or Trish for a little bit, or Maya. Maya, if you want to turn your camera back on. Trish, Mark, do either of you want to add anything right now?
Well, the only thing I want to say, I want to give the other panelists, an opportunity to talk that haven't. So I'd like to turn it over either to Trish or to Maya. But I just wanted to say, I thought, Celestine, you were amazing. You're just so knowledgeable as well. And it's such an honor to hear you share your knowledge with all of us. It's right on the money. And Scott, what you say about your practice of honoring our Mother Earth is so crucial. And Celestine has said that as well. And I just want to encourage everyone, when they do a meditation, to reach out to make contact, doing these kind of ceremonies in which we're honoring Mother Earth will really help your chances of contact. We are contacting the higher realms, as well as contacting extraterrestrials from the physical realm that come to us from other star systems. So so I just want to say that. And also at 9 o'clock tonight, if you want to go to my author Mark Sims Facebook page, I am doing a CE6 tonight. I'll be leading a meditation for contact, and that's at 9. So I'm going to let everybody else take over from here.
Mark, how do we find that at 9 o'clock? Where do we...
Yeah, if you go to author Mark Sims on Facebook, if you would go there, just search for it, you'll find me, and friend me, or like that Facebook page, and you'll see the announcement there. So just I'll start a live, a Facebook live stream, and you guys can just join me when you're ready.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Luca writes, yay, it's Hugh time at 9 p.m. That's cute.
Amazing.
And I want to thank Mark Denisovsky has offered a sacred geometry musical improvisation on Vimeo. That's in our Zoom room. And I'll copy that and I'll pop it into the Facebook chat. So I think we're probably at that time where each of us is going to kind of give like a closing thought or closing question. Maya is back with us. So, hi, Maya. We're going to put the spotlight on you for a minute. If there's anything you want to share.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you, Mark, for all of your contributions, and just love hearing you share, as always. And all of you, I just feel really inspired by this group of people. I think for me, one of the things that was coming up for me as I was hearing the share about the mother and about Earth and about the sentience of all beings, there's something that really helped me really open up to higher dimensional experiences, and that is, the shamanic practice of honoring the elements. The 5 elements: the water, the earth, the air, the fire, the ether. Something about really acknowledging the sentience of those forces as beings, and communing with them, and being in the listening and welcoming them as teachers, that creates this to some realm that otherwise is invisible to most of us. And for me, that intimacy with nature and with these forces has created so much more awareness of the cosmic and the divine in all things. And in terms of the frequency, there's so much frequency and sound and music, like the indigenous, like what Alan so beautifully shared, that indigenous peoples that have been holding these traditions, like the Aborigines, for so many years, they listen to nature. right? These songs aren't just something just coming through their culture. It's literally a conversation with life itself. They're listening to the song of the wind, the song of the fire, the song of, you know, the earth, and there's this conversation. And so for me, it's really about that intimate connection of realizing we're all interconnected. And so when we listen to these cosmic beings and these natural forces, we're also learning how to listen deeper to ourselves and to each other. And there's this quality, you can almost like feel it in this unseen world, this quality of what wants to come through us, and we're all really channels for that divine intelligence. So I'm just an invitation that no matter what culture you're coming from, no matter what traditions or beliefs or religions, there is an access point for you with just opening up to deeper listening and to experiencing the mystical in the mundane in everyday life. So thank you so much. And an opportunity too, the more we share our mystical experiences, the more we give permission for ourselves to have them and for other people to have them. So just wanting to encourage that again, to come on to newstory.earth, where we're going to be sharing a lot of those stories and really collectively crowdsourcing the new story of the new earth that's awakening at this time, and all of the beautiful beings on this planet are higher levels of awareness, and it was when all of us share from our personal experience, we get a bigger picture of what life is really about. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for everything you've contributed and all that you've done. I want to read something beautiful from Aaliyah Rose, one of our Facebook friends. She writes, I find myself sometimes when I am beyond colors and beyond light, dissolving into a beautiful space that is like the most beautiful black velvet you have ever seen. It's warm and loving. I found this in a meditation a few years ago, and this is where I go when I feel it's time to rest. I dissolve there into her divine, warm love. That is my feeling of Mother Earth. So thank you for that. That's very, very beautiful. Wow. And appreciating Aaron and your comments, Aaron. And also people are beginning to give us some really beautiful links. Thank you to David Watke. Just gave us a beautiful chant to the Mother Divine. And, you know, we love making this as participatory as possible. Summer asked, is there ever an opportunity for panelists to interact with our audience? Well, when we have 200 people in the Zoom room, obviously I have to just kind of take questions as I can, and we're doing our best, but certainly you can go into Facebook and ask more questions, and maybe I know I'll go take a look and try and respond as best as I can. And join us tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we're going to have an incredible show that is our annual Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe show. And it's kind of the big celebration of what has taken place with Harmonic Convergence this past, well, now it's almost 2 weeks that we're at, really. So I'm just bringing up for a moment. And we're going to have Mark Sims with us, of course. And we're going to have some amazing other guests. We've got, wait until you see the music videos that Mark has created. He's created these incredible high-level quality productions with Cirque du Soleil dancers, the Agape Choir, top-of-the-line musicians. So we're going to premiere 3 of his new videos. And then we've got live music with Larissa Stowe and Shakina Rose and some amazing speakers. So you're going to want to join us. And most of all, I'm excited about James Gilliand, who has a ranch up north where incredible phenomena happens. He's going to be one of our speakers and showing some of his videos. And Mark, I see you still with us. Do you want to say anything about the videos that we're going to be showing tomorrow? I'm very excited about them.
Yeah, so to give everyone some context and background with these videos, I was given the vision for organizing the 10-day event that we called the Harmonic Convergence 2020 back in 2015. It came to me in a vision, two very strong visions. So I took that as a mandate to do it, and I began putting together and organizing the event. In 2017, while meditating one morning, I was given a download from Tejbar to reproduce 12 songs. And then a few days later, exactly 10 days later, he gave me the 13th song to reproduce. And he said to reproduce them, that the reason I was going to reproduce them was to activate them. And the way they would be activated is by slightly changing the lyrics. So some of you have already heard the song or seen the music video called Peace is the Word, which was the first song given to me, in which he told me to change every occurrence of the word Greece in the song Greece, the title song to the musical, to peace. And there's one other word he asked me to change, and that was motion to notion. So I set about, finding a Hollywood music producer. I found one of the best, and I told him my story. He was intrigued, fascinated, had been a spiritual guy himself, so he felt a connection and took a chance with me. And he put himself and his team, made up of amazing musicians and vocalists, and did that song. And we've done now, Bruce Sugar is his name. He and I did about 8 songs, and then the others were done with other musical artists, Elijah Ray and Larissa Stowe. So the three videos that we're going to be showing tomorrow night are The Age of Aquarius, Let Your Love Flow, and the third one we're doing is it Amazing Grace? I'm not sure. I've got 13 songs in my head, and I don't know the third. Do you remember which song it is, Scott? The third one?
It was The Age of Aquarius. There was no one. I've got it written down in my office, so I don't have it right in front of me.
Well, it's been really fun. And as many of you may already know, Cirque du Soleil, which is an incredible performing arts and music company that performs all around the world, but especially in Las Vegas, has filed for Chapter 11 recently because of the COVID virus.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
Yeah, so I was given a heads up on this before it happened. And so I reached out to some of the dancers that I felt were really going to be, well, I should say I reached out to not the dancers directly, but through an intermediary, someone who was in the know, who shared this knowledge with me, and he had the connections. So I ended up hiring 8 dancers and a choreographer and some of the musicians, and so we're working on these videos in Las Vegas right now. So the dancers are doing choreography, and of the 13 songs, we have 3 of them done. And on August 8th, if all goes well, we should have all 8 of the 13 songs completed, and we'll be doing a virtual show by which we can sell tickets, and people can offer a donation and watch the show through a password protected access portal. And this is a day-to-day thing. I'm cautiously optimistic we're going to hit the August 8th date, but the 3 videos that you have are the ones we've completed so far.
Well, we're really, really excited. Big twinkling, everybody's twinkling mark here.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
You are going to be in for a treat. It's really great.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to just wrap us up by encouraging everybody once again to join us tomorrow night from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. You can find it live on Facebook by going to the Love Coach Academy page. It's also going to be on New Realities TV, Awake TV. We've got several streaming partners. And if you want to come into the Zoom room, Probably the best bet is just send me a Facebook private message. I'm the only Scott Katamas, and I'll send you the link where you can register to come into our Zoom room for Saturday night alive for the Global Peace Tribe, tomorrow night's show. Also, a reminder that Trish and I every Friday night do a show called Straight Talk. And that's what this has been, kind of a special edition of Straight Talk. Usually Straight Talk is at 9 o'clock in the evening. And we approach all sorts of topics and subjects, but we wanted to make this earlier so we could bring in all of Mark's East Coast friends and Alan, who's in New York, East Coast. So go to lovecoachacademy.com. You can find out about all the different shows that we're doing, or go to our Facebook page. You can also watch the recordings of all the shows that we've done, including Trish's wonderful self-love show she does every Thursday morning.
Really check out this last Thursday's show. It was fantastic.
Tell us about it. Tell us about the self-love show, Trish.
The self-love show is created to build tools for deeper self-love and internal connection so that you can create more resilience and capacity to show up in relation with others. This last show was on the nature of hearing the stories and the filters that you run on people and yourself. So it was an excellent show on the nature of reality, on your reality. Check it out.
And that's
Scott, just for people to honor their experience, like Maya said, if you've had an experience, share it. Like where would we have been if Mark didn't share his experience? We would have missed this amazing community. So everyone, come out, tell your family, tell people who don't believe you what's going on. What did you witness? What do you experience? And that's a form of self-love. So thank you all.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many wonderful things. And Alan, tell people about New Realities TV. How do people get a hold of you for that?
Well, you can go to youtube.com/New Realities. And like Scott, you're really outdone me, but I'm putting out as much videos about this higher level content. Lots of interviews with JJ Hurtak and Desiree Hurtak and Mark I've interviewed a bunch of times. And one thing I have to say about Mark's appearance on my show, he went deep into those 15 levels of Tejbar consciousness. So I try to make it a teaching show as well. And we're going to do more, right, Mark? So keep looking at that. And I'm just excited about this new time we're moving into. So I'm trying to document it as much as possible. I've written a book called Making Contact, which is a collection of essays about the ET experiences by experts in the field, Linda Moulton Howe and Whitley Strieber. And I even got an essay from John Mack's archives to put into this book. So I'm promoting this new awareness as much as I can, because I want to open up to more and more levels of consciousness. So this is always a great opportunity, Scott, to share with you and your team here.
All right, thank you. And just a question somebody asked, if don't worry, Terry, if you already get the weekly emails, you're already registered. I'm just putting down the registration link for anybody who hasn't already signed up for our free online show every Saturday night. You can register, and I put the link in the room, and I also put it on Facebook. So join us. There are a lot of wonderful ways you can get involved in what we're doing, because we're building community. Remember, we are the ones we've been waiting for, and this is the time we've been preparing for. We are the imaginal cells, and as the caterpillar of the old paradigm dies and death is unavoidable, we are the butterfly cells finding each other and creating a new world. And that's what's happening, and it's a very exciting time. So thank you, everybody, for being with us. Thank you, Mark, for all that you've done. Celestine, God bless you for your 40 years of ET connection and bringing it to the world. Alan, thank you for all that you do. Maya, you're a new friend and you rock. I love all that you're doing and your spirit. And Trish, you are an amazing partner. Thank you so much. God bless you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Pacific time. Good night, everybody.